Welcome back, Officers of the Republic. It's your Coruscant Underworld Police Chief, APGAINS. We're going to talk about all of the fleets, the ships, the fly boys, the Ewok glider in space, all of the fleets in order from best to worst, worst to best. Whichever way you want to spin it, we're going to talk about which ships beat what ships effectively, not so effectively, and all sorts of good stuff like that. If you guys do like this kind of video, consider liking the video, subscribing. It is AP April, or absolutely preposterous April. So let me know down in the comment section, what's the craziest thing you're going to try in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes this April? Are you going to try APGAINS' patented fleets-only defense? I'm actually running a fleet-only defense right now, so when GAC starts, make sure you hop by our live streams. We usually stream around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. You can come join us. That being said, let's hop in. I got all the capital ships opened up. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 capital ships, but effectively you can field 7 fleets, right? They are the Executor, the Negotiator, the Malevolence, the Chimera, the Home One, and the Finalizer, right? And the Radis, sorry. There's 2 Empire fleets, the Executrix and Chimera. Executrix, much better on defense. Chimera, much better on offense. There's the Negotiator and the Endurance doubling up for the Galactic Republic. Much better on offense and defense. Much better at being absolutely dog water and terrible and not useful at all, but still exists. So obviously, the best fleet in the game is the Executor. It beats other Executors and literally everything else. It's a high priority ship if you're in the mid game. I usually recommend people that, if you've snatched up your first Galactic Legend and you got a good core on your GAC or on your, on your roster for GAC, probably about time you grab the Executor. While crystals are still in the fleet arena, Executor is going to be your one true king ticket. Insert metaphor for you're going to get a lot of crystals. Lots of people have been theorizing that maybe they might move crystals out of fleet arena, but I don't know if they're going to do any of that anytime soon. So for the time being, the Executor is a must for people who want to be competitive in fleets and GAC. And, fleets and GAC are the reason that you're competitive, so incredibly important. But a ship that, you're not going to get to like 3 to 4 to 5 million GP, depending on how you play your account. What's the next best ship? Here's the thing. There's going to be a controversial opinion from a lot of people. It's the Finalizer. The Finalizer is pretty freaking amazing. Counters with really good banners, pretty much everything except for kind of the Malevolence. I wouldn't take the Finalizer against the Malevolence, and I certainly wouldn't place the Finalizer on defense, but if we're talking about offensive efficiency, it basically beats everything else, right? It's kind of a stretch against Executors, unless it's like maxed out. If you have a highly relic Hux, a highly relic First Order officer and stuff like that, you can get the job done moderately consistently, much more consistently than, say, with the Malevolence counter and stuff like that. That being said, I still think the Negotiator has a firm, 2B or maybe like really close 3rd place because it does have good offensive and defensive viability. For the early game, it's a monster. I'd say this is probably my most valued fleet, simply because in the early game, if you can get early access to this fleet, you're dominating fleet arena, even with whales. It's one of the most friendly to, people in good guilds but non-spenders. Great on offensive and defense. So unlike the Finalizer, you can't really place the Finalizer on defense, assuming your opponent knows what they're doing. If your opponent's bad, you can get away with a lot more stuff. But the Finalizer, not so great on defense. Negotiator, really good on offense, really good on defense. So I'd say it's probably Executor, and then I'd have a tie, like a 2A maybe Finalizer, just because it's so good on offense. Or you could spin it as 2A is Negotiator, 2B is the Finalizer. Everyone's going to have their opinion based on, what their account looks like, because everyone tends to favor the stuff that they have versus the stuff that they don't have. If I didn't have a Negotiator and I had a maxed out Finalizer, I'd probably be telling you, man, the Finalizer is so good. But they're pretty much comparable there. The 3rd best fleet, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, is going to be the Chimera with the Interceptor. Now, the Interceptor is currently locked as the most recent Conquest unit behind if you don't have 4 million GP, so this is not exactly a super duper, ooper, alley ooper pooper, free-to-play friendly ship if you didn't already have 4 million GP. And that's okay, because this is a fleet that, the TIE Advanced, you passively farm up, solid fleet, right? The TIE Bomber, a very good tank that you're going to need for your Negotiator lineup anyway to counter Rebel lineups. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And the TIE Fighter is also a good ship. So you're going to passively farm up these ships anyway, but there's no real rush in the super early game to get a Chimera fleet up and running until the Interceptor becomes more readily accessible free to play. But for those of you guys who are in that more mid-game free to play area where you were, listening to APGAINS' advice and passively farming up the Interceptor through the Conquest, like I told you guys, people who listen to APGAINS get rewarded, people who don't kind of fall to the wayside. But an absolute monster of a ship. I am currently kind of sad because I am 13 shards away from unlocking mine, and I just wish to the Lord, to Jesus above, that I had it right now before GAC lock-in a couple hours ago, but unfortunately I did not. After that, I'm probably going to say the Home 1 is going to be the next fleet. This is mostly coming off the back of the fact that the Rebel is a pretty powerful offensive fleet. It gets good banners against basically everything except for, the Executor, unless you use an all-attacker lineup, which at the end game is much more common than a lot of you guys who are going to use this in the early to mid-game. Kind of also falls to the wayside against a little bit of Empire action because of the bomber. The TIE bomber does directly counter the Rebels pretty well, which is why a lot of people, like I said, place it in their negotiator lineups to prevent the Rebels from countering that. But with good speed, really good mechanics, lots of recovery, and Dash's ship coming to the game looking like an absolute recovery beast, but also a good, solid utility and damage dealer. With so many options, this Rebel fleet is really, 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 really taking a big step forward. Who knows how good it's going to be on offense? It's going to kind of fall in the same category as the Finalizer is really, really good on offense. Not the best on defense, but the thing about ships is sometimes you do need a couple of ships where you're only ever going to use them on offense because of the massive amount of banners that they can get you. After the Rebels, we're going to go into our capital ships again, and we're going to talk about the next best fleet, the Malevolence. The Malevolence is kind of the opposite of Home 1. Home 1 is good on offense with good recovery and banners. Malevolence is good on offense with bad recovery and banners. This is a ship that has the opportunity to punch up, where your Home 1 would beat your Negotiator, especially with a new Dash ship, pretty well. The Malevolence will beat it, but with really bad banners. So the Malevolence is just one of those weird things where it gets the job done, but it gets it done really inefficiently. So if you have a bad fleet defense yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors having a inefficient offensive fleet. I will probably start placing the Malevolence on defense because of AoEs, mass assists, buzz droids, attacking out of taunt and stuff like that. This is probably going to be a really good banner sniping defensive team, and that's why it's going to fall into, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place. In the 7th and last place of the 7 usable capital ships is the Radis. You can do some good stuff if it's maxed out, if it's really good, but oftentimes that's not going to be the case. You get the odd, occasional, super endgame player who's like, I used the Radis a couple of times to one-shot the Executor. Those instances are not happening for most players, and therefore is not something you really need to take into consideration. It's not a very good fleet. It can do good stuff, but overall, in terms of efficiency, usefulness, viability, all that stuff, it's not fantastic. So I guess to close out, I'd say Executor's the best. I'm probably going to lean Negotiator for offensive and defensive viability as a 2A to the Finalizer's 2B. Though Finalizer does punch up a little bit more, let's have that debate in the comment section. How about you guys tell me which one of those two you prefer? Then I'm going to follow it up with the Chimera, Home 1, Malevolence, and then the Radis. Now, I am including Chimera and Executrix kind of in the same category because Executrix pumping out Foresight, turn meter offense, doing huge damage is going to be a better snipe team on defense, but you're oftentimes going to mostly use the Chimera with the Interceptor on offense to basically full auto max banner negotiators. So that's how the fleets break down. We are going to do a lot more stuff. If you guys want to come hang out, we are helping new players with their accounts, with their characters, with their ships, all sorts of good stuff. We do that pretty much every day at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're a new player, a mid-game player, or you just want to come hang out, ask questions about your account, we'll look at your account, help you out, ask questions about the game, just hang out, have a good time. 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when we live stream on YouTube. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later. If you guys enjoy this stuff, doesn't hurt to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Peace.